Every little thing you think that you need. Every little thing you think that you need. Every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Minimalists podcast, where we discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less. My name's Joshua Fields Milburn, and I'm sitting in a booth by myself today. Well, not really by myself. Sean is here, our fearless producer, and Ryan is in a separate booth. I'll talk about that here in a second and exactly what we're doing in two separate recording studios right now. But we have some really exciting news for you. Our documentary, which is called Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, just came out in theaters May 24th, so a week ago from this recording, and it hit number one in theaters, the number one documentary of 2016 in terms of theatrical box office openings. And I just want to say thank you. We are so grateful. We've worked really hard over the last 3 years, really curating the most beautiful film that we could make, and special thanks to Matt Diavella, the director of the film, and of course the folks over at Spire Media who helped us put this film together. We're finally getting this out in the world. We're so excited, and when I first got the email from our distributor, I couldn't believe when it said that it was the number one documentary of 2016 so far. So thank you so much for that. A lot of great reviews for the film have come in, and in fact, we're doing a special episode of the Minimalist podcast today. Some friends of ours, Jessica, Lynn Williams, and a gal named Melissa, they run a podcast called the Mindpalace. And so Jessica actually works with us. She helps us out with a lot of the social media stuff we do over at Facebook and Twitter. And her and Melissa just sit down once a week and have these amazing conversations about living a well-curated life. And when people often ask us what are other minimalist podcasts we recommend, that tends to be the first podcast I recommend. Well, they sat down and had a discussion about the film, and they tend to stray from the film quite a bit, and all of their discussions are great. I would encourage you to check out their podcast over on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. But we're going to give you today the conversation they had last week when the film came out about the film. If you are looking for some other solid reviews as well, you can go to the Boston Globe or Washington Post or Toronto Star, and the Chicago Tribune also did a review of the film. We'll put links to those in our show notes if you want to check those out. Also, we're going to end today's episode after you hear from Jess and Melissa. There'll be a track from the soundtrack of the documentary. So a friend of mine, who wasn't always a friend of mine, a guy named Andrew Clifford Kapaner, and, he's the lead singer of my favorite band, a band called Parlor Hawk, and they're from Utah. And I knew I wanted him to make the music for this documentary, so I reached out to him and begged him for about 6 months to work on the film. He eventually said yes, and he teamed up with this Grammy-nominated producer named Nate Pfeiffer, and together they formed a band just for this soundtrack to the film, and the band is called We, which is spelled VVE. And they just put the entire soundtrack up on Spotify and Apple Music and Google Play and probably some other places as well. We'll put that in the show notes for you too, but we'll also end this episode at the very end here with another song from the soundtrack. If you listen to last week's episode of the podcast, you got a sample of one of the other tracks. We'll put a different one at the end of this episode, and I hope you get a chance to check out all of those songs. It just makes the whole movie so much better. And emotional. It really brings out the emotion in the film. And so I'm really, really grateful that they were able to put this music behind a message we really believe in. Ryan and I are right now in Canada. We're both in separate recording booths here in Toronto. We're at the CBC recording back-to-back interviews for the CBC radio stations in, I think, every province up here. And I just had a quick break, and so Sean and I are tucked away in a mic booth right now with a little digital portable recorder to record this intro. So Ryan and I will be at the Canadian premiere of Minimalism at the Bloor Theatre in Toronto on June 1st, Wednesday, June 1st. Now, that's been sold out for a while, but the good news is there will be some tickets at the door. That's the very last stop of our tour. We wanted to bring it up here to Canada, but it will also be in Canadian theaters starting June 8th. And of course, in the United States, the film is still playing in some theaters throughout the entire summer. You can find your nearest theater or request a screening in your town at minimalismfilm.com, Or you can also pre-order the film online, especially if you're not in the United States. Don't worry. The film's still coming to you. It's going to be available worldwide online, including 6 hours of bonus content. So we went out and we got about 1,000 hours of footage, more than 1,000 hours of footage when we were making this documentary. But we obviously couldn't fit all of that into a 79-minute movie. But there are a bunch of amazing interviews we just couldn't include, but we still wanted you to have access to. So if you want to pre-order the film, you can go to theminimalists.com/order. You can find all the details there. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And now I hope you enjoy this episode from Jess and Melissa of the Mind Palace. Oh, and by the way, there are some curse words in this episode, so if you have kids in the car, you may want to skip this one for a while. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Mindpalace podcast. You are here with Melissa Kane in the northeast of England and Jessica Lynn Williams from Maui, Hawaii. This is a weekly podcast which explores what it means to live a well-curated life.
Happy Minimalism Film Day!
It should be a new holiday.
I know it should be a new holiday. At the time of this recording, the Minimalism film is coming out today, May 24th. So I guess the first screening is probably happening in just a few hours in New York City, and then it will be showing across theaters across the United States and Canada, and we also have the film available for pre-order on Vimeo. This is so exciting. Like, I feel like we've been talking about this, like we've been getting ready for this day for a long time, and it's finally coming to fruition. It's so crazy.
Oh, it's so exciting. Like, this is like the second time I've watched it, and it's such an incredibly genuine, like, documentary. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think like one thing that I have to say, like, overall for the film, like, one thing that I really appreciate about it is that it's completely, like, devoid of any ulterior motive. It's strictly about, like, the well-being of human beings and, like, this planet, you know. And it doesn't really make you feel, like, super bad about your consumption. Like, it's not a guilt film. It's just, like, the facts kind of film, and then it shows you how you can do things better. And that's what I love, because sometimes you can watch these documentaries and they'll show you, like, the very worst of everything, and that's pretty much all they'll show you. And you'll walk away saying, okay, like, I feel like I have reason to do whatever this documentary is telling me to do, or think however this person is telling me to think, or whatever. But it doesn't really, like, if you don't walk away with tools or with, like, a different way of life that you can try, then it's kind of worthless, you know? So it's amazing. You have all these people, like, in the film. There's so many bloggers. It's crazy.
Yeah, it definitely showcases a wide variety of different minimalists, and I think that's what's so nice about it. Like, there's no one right way to do this. There's so many different ways, but it's all them people connecting, like, on that level. And I just found it totally and utterly, like, breathtaking. And I really didn't expect it, because it's something that me and you have both been doing for quite a while. You know, we've read all the minimalist books, and so their stuff's nothing new to us. And I was really, like, surprised at how engaging and amazing it was. And even I learned stuff from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, it's not necessarily about how long you've been, like, involved in the movement, or, like, been thinking this way. Like, they have something new to bring to the table, because, like, what they have to bring to you is a feeling that things can be better. And there's nothing better than that feeling, in my opinion. I was listening to this podcast last night by Rob Bell, and he has a really great podcast. And one thing that he said, have you ever had somebody walk up to you and try and convince you of their cause, or somebody try and ask you to donate money to a cause or something like that? If you said no, odds are they're coming from a place of, like, we have to do something about this. We have to do something about this.
But he said, how much would it change your approach if they were to walk up to you and be like, look at what we can do. Look at what we can do about this. Look at how we can be a part of like a massive, beautiful change in the world. And that's such a more beautiful and genuine and enticing place to come from, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I loved it. It made me really, really emotional. And at first I didn't really understand why like the end of the movie, it was like happy tears, but you know, when your eyes just leak and you're like, I'm not really entirely sure what's going on here. I think it's not very often that you watch anything or that you're a part of anything that you really think like, shit, this is going to change the world. Like, that's what I actually thought when I watched it, because, you know, I think a lot of people read books, but the movie is going to reach so many more people. And this is just going to explode. And it's so exciting, because I thought about when I first found the Minimalists, when I first found their blog, and how that's probably like the one single moment that I can say, like, it really changed my life. Like, I wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't have the same values. I wouldn't be living my life in this way if it wasn't for them. And I know that so many people are going to watch this movie, and they're going to have that moment, and they're going to have that feeling. And that's just incredible. It's such an incredible, like, movement to be a part of. And I don't know, like, I'm just so proud of how it was put together, and it was visually so beautiful.
It was. And for me, I think the reason that I teared up, is because, like, the thing is like, we get to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you and I, like, we kind of do, like, our own thing, like, separate from the Minimalists, but obviously, like, Josh and Ryan are our friends, and you know, everybody on that team, and a lot of people who are also involved in the movement. And I think what it is that, like, we're involved in something that's bigger than ourselves, and we felt the impact of it, like, on a very personal level. And I think that we all intrinsically know what it can do on a global scale, you know. And I understand that, like, not everybody's going to buy ethically, and fast fashion will exist for a long time. And, like, there's a lot of changes that are yet to be made, and there's a lot of people that won't get to see this film who really should. But it's such a step in, like, the right direction, because, I mean, like, it moves you so much, and you think if it moves us, like, it's got to move other people, you know? Like, we're all humans, we have emotions, and...
Yeah, it does. And, I mean, I've never watched anything with no ego. Like, it was such a humbling thing to watch. I was thinking about it as I was watching it yesterday, and I thought, I wonder how many hugs there are. Like, during the course of this movie, I would love for somebody to sit and count how many hugs there are, because I just bet there's no other documentary out there that has that. Like, it hits you right to the core, because it's so genuine, and it's so basic, and it's so simple, and it's just accessible to everyone. Like, everyone can live their own version of minimalism, whatever it means to them. And it was nice to see so many people on, you know, so many different paths in life who have that collective agreement of what it means to live a well-curated life, and what it means to live like a good life.
Yeah. And it's so important that they brought that in, because I feel like a lot of people tell me that, like, I feel like a lot of people, like, tell me that, like, it's a phase, that, like, I'm not gonna, you know, and it'll be like, oh, or, you know, a lot of people think it's a phase, you know, when you get into minimalism, people are like, oh, well, you know, that's okay, that's cool for you, and they kind of, like, treat it as, like, a cute thing. You know,
people
like,
always
a hippie.
People always say to me, oh, that minimalist thing you're into, as though it's like a passing fad. Like, I'm some like angsty teenager that's just decided to care about something for a bit because it's cool.
I know. And it's so not that, you know, it's not like, I mean, there's a difference between, like, being passionate about owning less stuff and living a well-curated life, and like being a stupid hippie that's like, who needs jobs, man? Just eat the leaves, you know? Like, it's a totally different thing. I mean, it's like, it's approaching life. Like, yes, there may be some hippie qualities to it because it's like, yeah, we should love the earth. But how is that like a hippie thing? I just don't understand. Like, the dirt on your feet provides gravity so you don't fly off into space, and we're not supposed to love the earth? I just don't understand that concept. I think it's a pretty important
Hold on,
thing
you're telling
to
me
love
I'm
and
not
care
supposed
about.
to love the earth?
I know. It's crazy. But it's nice. They approach it in such a logical manner that like the naysayers, to me, it's like if you can be a naysayer of like, at least that it has value. Maybe you don't want to be a minimalist. That's totally cool. Like, nobody's going to knock down your door. I mean, if you want me to, I can. You know, a low flat rate of $500 plus a plane ticket. But I'll bang down your door and be like, hey, get rid of all your stuff. But it was just beautiful. It's just good. And it's like, it's really nice to have people representing who you are in a way that like that's good. Like, if somebody was to watch the minimalism film and be like, oh, she's a minimalist, I'd be like, exactly. That's exactly what it is. They represent it so properly.
Yeah, it's something that you're proud to be a part of. And the way that movie was portrayed, like, there's not one part of it that I like turned off. And I am such a daydreamer. Like, I'm just constantly daydreaming, so I find it very difficult to watch anything, or even with books and that. Like, I have a very short attention span, and I was so glued to it. Like, it was incredible. And I think that it really highlights, not in a positive way, but, you know, consumerism. Like, it really, it doesn't show it in like a really, really like, I'm not explaining myself properly here at all. The way that is portrayed,
Doomsday?
I think.
Doomsday
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, it's not like a doomsday thing.
Yeah, but it's also something that it's like, no, like, we all need to wake up and understand and just be more conscious of everything that we're doing, because like that's what's important. And I'm reading a book right now, and it's about fast fashion, and it's even, you know, I follow a lot of people on Instagram who are very into, you know, like sustainable fashion, which is amazing. It's great. Mm-hmm. But it's still very markety and very advertising, and like, if you spend £100, then you get this free gift, or blah blah blah. And I just think that it's still part of the problem. Like, fair enough, when it comes for you needing to buy something, if you can't buy it secondhand, buy it ethically, great. But just because something's made ethically, like, it still has an impact on the environment. Like, consumerism is the problem. You can't just switch the goalpost, and just because it's so-called sustainable just means you can go out and buy as much stuff as you want. No, that's not the point. It's about being conscious of everything that we're buying and why we're buying it.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like, I was actually looking for an article on sustainable fashion yesterday for the Minimalists social media page, and I found a website, and it was this girl who was like a self-confessed shopaholic, and she had seen the light, but like the way she talked about it was like, so here's the sustainable options, and like, it was kind of like, and I still love shopping, like sustainable shopping. Let's go to the mall, like the sustainable mall, you know. And it's like, that's not. I think like the hype is what people gotta kind of let go of. And it's hard because like, it's hard to let go of the hype of consumerism. I mean, like, when you're a kid, you know, like, what do you hear? You hear like, collect all 12, you know, like, that's what they tell you about toys. It's just, so it's built into us, and they address that too. Like, in the film, they talk about how in the 90s, Americans went on a buying spree, you know, and they would purchase like a bunch of shitty products from China. I think the woman who spoke about it was Juliet Shore. She's a sociologist, and that was really, as somebody who was born in the 80s, I have to say that I don't remember a time where it wasn't like that. And it's really fascinating to see somebody talk about that in such an outlandish way. Like, look at what we've done. It's like, well, that's just life. but you learn about it over time, about how it wasn't always that way.
No, yeah, and I think something that really scared me when I was watching it was when they were talking about advertising, and specifically advertising for children's toys, and how they used to market it to like parents or to mothers, and then they switched the goalposts because they realised it's a lot easier just to go straight for the kids, and how prominent that is in today's culture, you know, and like kids are so innocent. Like, how can you expect a child to know any better than to just fall for something like that? Like, it's manipulation on just the lowest level, and that just terrifies me. Like, the fact that that's what our society is built on nowadays, and that's the kind of things that we've got to do. I mean, there's a part where Ryan says that he has to try and sell a cell phone to a 5-year-old. Like, if that is the world that we're living in, like, I don't know anyone who doesn't want that to change, because it's not right. Like, consumerism on the whole is the problem. It doesn't matter how ethically made something is. If you're buying like 50 ethically made tops each year, or you buy one top from fast fashion, like, it, you know, it's just you can't justify those things.
It would be better to buy one fast fashion top than it would be to buy 50 sustainably made tops.
Yeah, it would. And
I mean, I know that I like saying that kind of feels a little bit weird, you know, but at the same time though, like, it's true. You know, it plain is, but the children thing, like advertising to children, it's so, I mean, like, advertising is mind control, like, straight up. It's true. Like, that's all it is. It's just like manipulating the mind. And the difference is that, like, as adults, you and I have the capability to discern what these advertisements mean. But like, kids most of the time, like, don't have that yet. And to try to exercise that, like, judicious quality to know if something is advertising or not only as an adult, but as a child, it can be really hard because they slip it in so good.
Yeah, and we've built up this tolerance for it though. Like, a lot of adults don't even know, you know, they're not aware of how often they're manipulated each day. It's only when you look further into it and look deeper into it that you realize what's going on. But it's really hard. Like, it's a hard thing to gauge, and I think that's what's scary about it, you know, because you have to constantly be thinking it, because you're fighting against your own natural instincts. You know, we have this urge to accumulate. That's like, it's just part of the way we are. And to be aware of that is how you kind of put a stopper in it, you know. But it's still like, I mean, I can still find myself, you know, sometimes being attracted to something, especially if there's a magazine when I go to the doctors, and I'll have a flip through it. It's really hard not to be drawn in by stuff like that. And even as minimalists, we're probably still, you know, under a little bit of a spell in some ways. And it's that conscious effort all the time of, no, do you know what? I don't need that. Like, I really don't need it. That's why I think stuff like, you know, putting yourself on a shopping ban is a really good way forward, at least to just try and like curb any of those sort of like emotions and feelings.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree with you. You need something to bring you back down to earth. And what's nice is I think that's what this documentary does. And like, I still feel like a draw to buy things. Like, if I stop at Target to pick something up that like I wouldn't expect to be like at another store, which either like, but I don't know, for some reason when I walk into Target, it's like, it's a nightmare. My brain just like, it starts shutting down, and I start looking at like, you know, little like animals that are like really kitschy, like statuettes and like these candles. And I start looking at their furniture, and I'm like, what am I doing? You know, like, fuck, I'm a minimalist. What am I doing? Yeah. Like, I got to get the fuck out of Target, because it just does something to you that like when you walk through, you're like, imagine what my house could look like if I could just get that nightstand. And then you're like, okay, hold on. Like, this isn't, you don't need a new nightstand. It's just, hang on, just back away from the home goods section. And I feel like, you know, whenever I want to change something about myself really badly, I start reading a lot about it and I start watching like documentaries and listening to podcasts. Because I feel like, you know, when people are like, oh, I want to get into this habit, it's like, okay, well, like, I think that information will probably convince you better than just telling yourself you have to get into a habit.
Oh, yeah. Facts. I think especially the facts for stuff like that, they're pretty scary. It's something that can definitely like terrify you into changing. But I think, you know, when you're talking about Target, like at least you're aware when you walk in that shop, you know, like you're aware of what's going on. I think it's the ethical stuff. Like we went at the weekend because we had one nice weekend here. It was amazing. It was sunny for all of like 2 or 3 hours. And I went to the shops to buy some natural sun cream because we didn't have any at the minute. So I went to this place over here called Holland and Barrett.
What, sorry? Cancer. Which, by the way, sunscreen causes cancer.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You get traditional sunscreens.
But I'd gotten burnt like the weekend before hiking, and I've got a wedding to go to, so I really need to even out my t-shirt tan lines.
No, well, I know you're like, you know, I knew you were buying that stuff. I wouldn't have announced that. I wouldn't have been like, by the way, Melissa, but no, but like it's, you know, no. you know that, but it's for other people who don't know that. Cause I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put on sunscreen so I don't get cancer. I'm like, oh, look at all the cancer causing chemicals inside of this little bottle.
Yeah. It's that's another freaky thing, you know, like you don't know what we're slathering on our bodies. You don't know what you're buying. But anyway, I went to this store over here and it's called Holland and Barrett and it's all like natural and organic. So I went and we bought sun cream, and then I just started looking at the essential oils, and then I started looking at some of the other natural beauty products, and it's so easy to get like drawn in because I think, no, this is really good for you though. Like this is good stuff, you know, it's natural, it's organic. Yeah, but it's still like consuming, like, do you really need it? You know, and it's really hard because I think that it can be used as a marketing ploy, you know, as like a guilt-free purchase. Like, oh, but this is natural. Yeah, but okay, but do you need it? Like, do you need 3 natural mascaras? Or is that excessive? You know, like, I think that's the new demon that's coming up, and that's something that we've got to be aware of, because I see it way too often on Instagram, and you walk into shops like that, and even I'm easily swayed, and I've been a minimalist now for like 2.5 years. But, you know, I'm aware when I walk into supermarkets that that's what's happening. But when I walk into these like natural herbal shops, I just get so absorbed in it, and that's what can be dangerous.
And it's good to know like what your kryptonite is, you know, like it's good to know like what your thing is that you're like, you know, like, oh, if I walk into Best Buy, I'm going to have to do some fighting. And that's kind of what's nice about buying online, even though like there's a whole nother gamut of things that you can like be sucked into. It's totally different than being in person, because being in person, you can hold the object. And if you look at like the way they set up like Apple stores, the reason they set it up the way that they do is they have like all of these tables, and they have, you know, the phones out, and you can pick them up and you can touch them. And they've done studies and they've figured out that if you touch something and if you hold something, you've already become attached to it more so than if you hadn't touched something before. So like they're increasing your attachment. I know, it's crazy. Like they're increasing your desire to like own that thing, like just by allowing you to touch it. I mean, it's
scary. It's definitely terrifying because it's so subtle. You know, these people who advertise, like, they know their stuff, you know, and a lot of it is science. Like, they know the way that your brain works, and they know what's going to make you want to buy something. I don't know about you, but that really scares me. And it scares me that we're using that tool to get people to buy stuff. You know, like all these steps that we've taken in science, and how now it's being manipulated in that sort of way. Like, that makes me kind of sad. Like, I think that because we're trusting, you trust the government, you trust these companies because you think that they've got your best interests at heart. You'd like to think that, and it's just not the case.
No, the government or the companies. Like, I honestly think, like, if you think that, like, the government or, like, any corporation has your best interest at heart,
No.
like, I'm sorry, but that's not, like, unfortunately how the world works. And what's really nice about, like, I think the film overall, too, is that it brings it back to you. Like, we can all try and, like, jump over these barriers and try and, like, legislate all of this stuff. And, like, we can really try to do all of these things and like, go through the quote unquote man, to try and accomplish, like, a less consumeristic society or whatever, or have more sustainable shopping. But, like, what I really like is, like, the film brings it back to you.
Yeah.
And they say, this is your responsibility. Like, you might be a victim in the sense that advertisers have, like, gone through and grabbed onto your mammalian brain and twisted your desires to be something that feeds their needs and their wallets. But no matter if it's their fault or not, fault is not the issue, and being a victim isn't going to get us anywhere. So stop buying so much shit and start living meaningfully and really start paying attention to what is going on around you. And I have to say, like, the fact that I walked out, like, the first time I saw it in Los Angeles at a festival. And I think the first time I walked out of that film, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt powerful. And, like, there's nothing better that you can do to encourage somebody, like, in a movement than to empower them, to let them know that they can make a difference. And it's not by spending money.
Yeah, because it's easily accessible to everybody. Like, anyone can do this. Like, that is incredible. And you're right. You walk out of it thinking, okay, how am I going to change my life? How has this impacted me? Because I think it impacts it in a really, really big way. Like, the way that they put the noise of consumerism against, the peacefulness and people talking about how amazing minimalism is. Like, I couldn't think of any other better way for it to be put across. And what's great is that some of the stuff that I noticed was that, it's not all in bare rooms. You've got these people who, believe in minimalism, even if they don't call it that. And, some of the scientists especially had, like, corners full of books. If you're a minimalist, you can still own a load of books. Like, minimalism is about you, and it's about you getting that use of stuff, like, not buying stuff frivolously. And I thought that was portrayed really nicely. And, like, can I just say how, like, lovely was Leo Babauta on it when he was like, this is like great. A really good plague.
Oh, he's so lovely. He's just, like, he seems so agreeable. Yeah. And, like, just, like, so easy to talk to.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of these people do. Like, and that's what's nice is I don't feel like they're trying to convince me of anything. Because the thing is the evidence of, like, this world of advertising and consumerism, like, we don't need to see that, like, we're subjected to it on a daily basis. And even though they do show some images of, like, Black Friday, which I do think is really important regardless, like, they know that the evidence is right in front of us, and it's more so about getting past it. But I do want to talk about the Black Friday stuff because, like, man, I was watching that like, they had one part. I felt like it was like, how can this not be a mental illness? Like, you're laying on the ground fighting over a box and you're in your mid-40s. Yeah. How can you not have a mental illness there?
That woman that was screaming, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm so scared. Like, you're attacking me. And I was like, oh, God. I don't even think any of them knew what was in the boxes.
No, it was like, it's crazy. And I know that's not everybody, but you gotta hit that wall. Like, you gotta see that other end of the spectrum as well, and juxtapose that with, like, minimalism to really get a full understanding of, like, where you can meet in the middle or closer to minimalism, because it's better anyways.
Yeah, because that's the extreme, but everyone falls on a level of the spectrum, So, like, how how often are we guilty of just walking in and picking something up and just buying it kind of mindlessly? You know, like that's on like a ridiculously extreme level. But I think that everyone's guilty of that at certain points in their life, probably more than most of us would like to admit. And that's what's scary about it, you know, because I think that there was some like imagery from like Times Square and stuff, and we are just bombarded. Like there was so much noise. Like the noise is constant, and it was like, you know, I mean, I can't go into shopping centres. I really feel anxious shopping and being in that sort of environment, because everything tells you that you are not enough. You know, you are not good enough. You are not thin enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not like, and it's exhausting. I feel like when you're in that sort of lifestyle, it's just a constant battle. And then when you saw the elements of minimalism, it just seemed so like peaceful. And I just thought, you know, this is the part of minimalism that I love. And I think that it's really hard to articulate to other people, like how good it feels. And I think that the movie it showed it so well. And like you say, like all the people in it were so empowered by it, and you feel empowered just watching it, because you know that it's something that you can go home as soon as you've watched the movie and you can change your life. Like you can change the way that you think, and you don't have to be on this like roller coaster of consumerism. You can choose something more peaceful and just more in harmony with the earth, because like God, we're absolutely destroying it. And it's nice to think that there's a big movement of people that you know, like trying to protect it and trying to like live alongside it and balance that.
Yeah. And I want to say too, back to the New York scene that you were talking about. What about those bags? Like the people were walking around with these bags and they said like believe on the side. And it was like in this really whimsical lettering that looked like Santa could have written it. And like there were these red bags, and it was just so like, when I saw the word like believe like on the side of a shopping bag, that was like, I thought that was a really incredible like moment, because what it was saying, like, you should believe what's in this bag. Like this bag is going to make, you know, it's labeling something. What's in this bag is going to change your life, and you're going to feel better, and you're going to be more beautiful. And all. It's kind of why I like living in Hawaii, because nobody gets dressed in the morning. It seems like everybody wakes up and they just walk out of the house like wearing whatever they have, probably not showered in 3 days, because it's like a hippie it's like a hippie colony.
Nice. I like that imagery that you've left me with there. Maybe I'll move to Hawaii. No, but you're right though, and it's so subtle, it's so manipulative. Like believe, like bullshit. I call bullshit. I would love to just there's a if anyone's ever watched An Idiot Abroad, Carl Pilkington gets asked what superhero he would want to be, like what sort of superpower he would want, and he said he'd want to be bullshit man. And I just think I would love that, like just wandering around going, it's bullshit, like bullshit, because a lot of it is like a lot of the stuff that we consume, that we read, that we get told by companies and governments, it's the majority of it's bullshit. Like it's all just hearsay and people talking absolute shite. And it was nice to watch a movie that you can believe what they're saying. You know, they're not trying to sell you something. There's no ulterior motives. Like it's just like a genuine hope for the well-being of other people and like empowering them in that way. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, and they also, one thing that's really nice about the film is they talk about the how versus why, or the why versus how, rather. Like they talk about the why you should do it, as opposed to like, you know, here's like a good way to declutter your closet. You know, it's like every time I see an article or a blog post like that, I want to just throw up in my mouth, because it's just so, it doesn't give you anything. Like you could literally just take all of those things and just throw it in a bag and just like give it to Goodwill. And I know Goodwill isn't the best company in the world, but like you could do that, and it's like really simple, but it's not about that. And I think what's nice is like, because they go into the why, they take it to a different point. it's not about decluttering your closet. It's about a new life philosophy where you get to be in charge of where your money goes, and you get to decide how other companies and other people affect you and your decisions to spend the money that you have worked for with the time that you have on this earth. And it, like, that's what it's about. And man, like, there was that one point where, fuck, I'm forgetting his name. He's a stockbroker.
AJ Leon, was it?
Yes, AJ Leon. Like, the point where he talks about how his, like, he was going to be in a position and he was going to receive a raise, and he realized, like, that he couldn't, like, walk away from that large sum of money.
Yeah.
And how he didn't envy his boss's life. It was like, like, that part, I just, like, my heart just, like, stops when I watch that, because I feel like there's so many people that, like, are trading so much of their lives for the money.
Yeah.
And they want to just, like, get to a point, you know? Like, I want to just get to this point. And I just want to get, like, you know, my head above water. And it's like, dude, like, you don't have to keep on treading water. You can just float and it would all be okay. And you can, like, enjoy the world around you without having accomplished X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but we don't get told anything different, you know. Success is, for a lot of people, how much money they're making. And that's really, really sad. Like, that's sad that that's what we're judging things on. And I think that we've got really confused between happiness and money. You know, we think that you have to be earning a certain amount of money to be happy, and that being rich means that you're happy. And it's so not the case. And I think that the majority of the time it's the opposite. Like, I've been to Thailand with people who just have nothing. Like, they don't have anything, and they are so much happier than we are. So much happier, and they have nothing. Like, it's not about money. It's about connecting with people, and it's about using your talents to do and to be a power of something good in the world. Like, that's what it's about. And I think that's what was really nice, because it was about the connection, you know, it was about connecting with other people. And that's what's been amazing, like, becoming a minimalist and meeting other people who are minimalists, because, like, they're all such genuine, lovely people, you know, in their own little ways. And it's so incredible to be a part of. I couldn't see anything else, like, nicer about it. And what I really liked as well was, you know, Josh and Ryan kind of sunk down right into their depths, going into their past and some of the stuff that they'd been through. Yeah. And I think that really hit me hard, you know, because I think that you can look at people's lives from the outside and think, oh, everything's perfect. And I think that they had a quote from Jim Carrey on it, saying that they wanted everyone to be rich and famous, to realise that's not the answer. And somebody said, like, oh yeah, well, like, that's great for Jim Carrey to say. Yeah, but, like, he's the only one who can say that. And it's nice to be able to watch something and think that, you know, you can go through all this shit and you can come out the other side and you can still make something good of it. In the pursuit of money and the pursuit of any kind of, like, status like that, it's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you more secure. Like, the only way to do that is to consume less and live within your own means.
Mm-hmm. And, like, there's a security in that. Like, there's a security in knowing that you can be okay, like, that you can feel satisfied without other people supplying that satisfaction, or without paying other people.
Yeah.
Like, if you, like, I mean, like, you can feel satisfied without buying a bunch of shit. Like, I
think you feel
like,
better.
You have the capacity to do that.
Because, I mean, you get the initial, like, high. Like, I always see people who are driving around in ridiculously nice cars or who live in really big houses, and I just think, God, how stressed you must be all the time. Like, I don't like parking in car parks because, like, sometimes I get stressed that I'm going to, like, bump my car or something, and my car isn't even worth that much. Like, I think if I was driving around in a really nice car, I'd just be constantly worried about it. Like, when you own really nice stuff, it's like people who have, like, the newest it bag or the newest iPhone. I mean, I've got an iPhone, but if it's something that you constantly buying the newest thing, I just think it stresses you out. Like for the first few months when I get like something new, I'm just like paranoid about it. I'm like, oh God, what if I like drop my phone in the toilet, or what if I like crash my car and smash it up? Because you've spent so much money on it, like you've invested in it, and it just becomes this worry. It just becomes this weight on your shoulders, and actually owning less and having less stuff to worry about is so much better than the tiny little bit of gratification you get from like spending money and getting something that you want.
Yeah, it's so weird, like that we can take like the concept of time that we've spent, like we can take time and we can purchase a thing with it. And that thing that we purchase,
people don't think about it like that, though.
That amount of time. And the thing is like, I feel like if you like the thought process amongst a lot of us is like, if I spent a lot of time to earn that money to acquire that thing is more time. And like, I'm just trying to acquire more time. And like, I'm just trying to convince myself that I'm supposed to be like, that I'm going to be here forever, you know? And I really think that a lot of this is about like not facing our mortality too, to be honest with you. Like, that's really what I think a lot of this like consumeristic shit is about. It seems to me like we're trying to avoid a kind of difficult truth by purchasing a feeling. Yeah. And instead of trying to dig deeper and kind of sit with that, you know, like, and like rest with that and be okay with that and understand that like, you can't just like purchase like eternal fame. And even if you do purchase eternal fame, the fame will outlive you and you won't even be there to experience it.
That is so true. And I think what's scary is how insidious a problem advertising has become. You know, even like you are manipulated so many times that you don't even realize. It's even stuff like Instagram. You know, like now companies sponsor ordinary people, or, you know, like quote unquote ordinary people, like bloggers and different people, you know, to sell their products. And you don't even realize that's being sold to you, because it's just whoever posting a picture of them with a protein shake. That's been sponsored, and they've been told exactly how to take that picture, what time to put it out, what to say, what caption to put underneath it. And that's where people have to get their backs up, you know, because like when you walk into a shopping centre, you know that people are advertising and people are trying to get you to spend money. What you don't realise is when you're going through your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed and you see celebrities, or even, I mean, it's not even celebrities nowadays. There was, do you remember that girl who quit social media?
Yeah.
What was her name?
Something, I think it started with the E, like, I don't know, like Essa or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it Senna O'Neill, maybe?
Yes, and Senna O'Neill. That's who it was.
She quit social media, obviously, because, you know, it's pretty narcissistic
But she had thousands of followers, though, and she had like created this kind of like false life,
hundreds of thousands,
where she like, and she like created this false life of her like living lavishly, and she would just get dressed for all these Instagram posts, and then she kind of had this moment where she realized that she was manipulating like masses amount of people, and like they didn't know that it was advertising, and she quit social media and like stopped wearing makeup. And I'm like, man, I think she was like 18. Yeah. My God, I was so stupid at 18. God, good for you. You know, like you're making some smart choices.
Yeah, definitely. But it's so nice to see somebody stepping back from that. But the problem is that she ended up, I think she got her Instagram back, or somehow she shared some of the photos that she'd taken during the course of her being on Instagram and what had actually happened. So her drinking a green smoothie or something, and it would have been a sponsorship from I don't know, like whoever, and you would never have known that just flicking through. Like, you would have thought, oh, green smoothie. You know what it is? I quite fancy a green smoothie. Oh, what's that company? And you don't even realise that that company is paying that person a hell of a lot of money to manipulate you. It's so subtle. And I think that that's, you know, a big reason why the minimalists, you know, don't believe in advertisements, and we don't, because I don't think there's any good way to sell something. You know, like, a product should just stand on its own. Like, you shouldn't need to be manipulated to buy something.
Yeah, and like I don't think, like, do you really want to convince? I don't know. I don't know if I'd want it. Like, if I had a product, I don't know if I'd want to do very much convincing for them to purchase it anyways. Because then it's like, if it sucks, they blame it on themselves. You know, it's like, well, you chose to buy this, but this is kind of like, you know, it's kind of like the podcast. It's like, well, like, it's free and it's your choice to listen to it. So I don't think I'd ever want to like force anybody or manipulate anybody into listening to it.
No, definitely not. And that's what's nice, because going back to the movie, it portrays it in such a nice light, and they've got the tiny house movement, and that is something that, I mean, it's extremely radical, but you know, with the space that we're all taking up nowadays and the amount of rooms that we have in our houses that we don't even use, and it's about, you know, like, being economical in every way you live your life. You know, and trying to take up, you know, as least space as you can, and just being more considerate of, like, the environment, and also to yourself, because at the root of this is the fact that consumerism doesn't make you happy. It doesn't matter how many things you buy, you know, like, spend your money on experiences. Don't build a house full of shit and expect that to make you happy, because it just won't. And there's nothing against that, but, and I mean, I'm someone who, like, I did love fashion, and I still love clothing, but I don't really love fashion, because it's so manipulative, and I think that what could be used as a tool to empower people is used as a way of just making shitloads of money, and that's sad. You know, it's sad that there's so many people benefiting from like all these corporations and companies that are selling all this shit that we don't need. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And like, we have to realize that, like, the purpose isn't to make us happy. The purpose is to make them money, which they think will make them happy. So as long as we realize, like, as long as we understand the motive, then we're in good hands. And I think that's really what this film does, is it puts into perspective who's doing what, why they're doing it, and how you can change things. And I mean, really, like, the entire film is, I think, part of the reason personally that I didn't get bored at any time is because they make it a story, but really 3 stories are happening in this film. The first story is of, like, people like Josh and Ryan and other people in the film, you know, like Joshua Becker and Courtney Carver, and it's the story of their lives and, like, how minimalism has impacted them personally. And then it's about, like, also, like, economists and sociologists and psychologists and all of these people who are also explaining to you what advertising and what consumerism is doing to you. And then the third story, I think, is environmentally what we are doing to the planet. So it goes between those 3 stories. And I think it keeps you interested, because you're not just staying with somebody else's story. You're not just experiencing what's being done to you. And you're not just experiencing what you are doing to the planet. But you're understanding all 3 in a very strong, cohesive way. And it's a very linear storyline, but it takes you so many different places in so many different perspectives. And I think there's nothing like having that understanding. Like, if you want to create a habit or change your life, there's nothing better than just, like, taking time to inform yourself on the matter. And then you can convince yourself. But if, like, you don't have the facts to do so, you're not going to be able to force yourself into, like, a habit, you know, of getting rid of stuff. You have to you have to arm yourself with knowledge and make yourself feel powerful.
Yeah, and I think that what was really nice for me is the fact that, you know, we've created a society where there's not a lot of trust. Like, people don't feel like they can trust other people, and they don't feel like that they can trust the government or pretty much anyone who rules a big part of their lives. And it's nice to watch a movie like that and watch all these genuine people, and to be able to put your trust in somebody, in these people, and to know that it's well placed. You know, like there was a few moments in the movie where they'd go and do a book signing and nobody would show up, or they would go to do one person would show up and they'd go to do a talk and there'd only be a handful of people there. Like, they're doing it for the love of it. Like, they genuinely want to spread this message, whether it's to like one person, whether it's to a few million people, which is like definitely where this is going. That's genuine, you know, and that's so powerful. It's nice to know that these people aren't just trying to like scam you out of money. They genuinely want the best for everyone in the world, and I think that that's just amazing.
Yeah, there's no ulterior motives. They're not trying to sell you anything. They don't want anything from you. And that's awesome. If you it's awesome. It's an amazing film. So if you guys would like to see it, you can go to minimalismfilm.com, and there you can like find a local theater. I think it's playing in theaters until late June. And if you go to Minimalist or theminimalist.com/order, then you can order the film on Vimeo, which it's a pre-order. So after you purchase the film, it will be released to you on August 2nd. And coming along with the with that purchase is also 6 hours of bonus footage, which I'm excited about. We all collectively, like myself, Marla and Jeff Saris and Dave Talupe, all of them from Aspire Media, and Josh and Ryan, and everybody that's on the team, Sean Harding and Matt Diavella, we all read books by all of these people that are involved in the film, and I'm so excited to see what those questions are and how they went, because it's just they really dug deep and found the really, really good people that know a lot about these topics. And it's going to be really fascinating. And what's really cool is the Minimalist podcast just released today, and I posted I post when there's a new essay. So last night at 12:30, I got online to post the new essay for the Minimalists, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're releasing some of the bonus footage on their podcast. So I think it's I don't know what the URL is, but the Minimalist most recent podcast, it's titled Minimalism. You can go there and you can listen to that, some of that bonus footage.
Well, now I've got something to do after we'll finish recording.
I know. I'm so excited.
It's quite sad, but I would love to just sit and watch that 6 hour footage. So in that footage, are they interviewing some of the people who are in the movie? Does it just go into more depth?
Yeah, it goes into more depth because, of course, in the film, they have to, they can only include certain clips, but obviously there's still it's a treasure trove. Still, it's still a gold mine. There's still plenty of people that are really well versed in all of these fields. Oh God! And so then
that's going to be incredible.
You get to
I'm going to binge on that so bad. I'm going to buy some food and I'm going to sit in all day and watch interviews about minimalism.
I know. It's going to be so good. So you can, and so it's in theaters May 24th, which is while we're recording today. And I'm honestly thinking about I'm honestly just thinking about posting the podcast today. As soon as I have it edited, just having it go up, even though we're a day late. It's you know what? No, it's Minimalism Film Day. We got to do it.
Yeah, I think so. Jingy and do it.
I'm going to try to do it. Just send me the audio ASAP and I'll try and edit it and get it all up there ASAP. Yeah. Because this is important stuff. Just flat out, this is really important stuff. And it's exciting. So yeah, I'm really, it's a good team. I'm so proud of everybody. They all did an amazing job. And man, if you guys are ready to change your life and think about the world differently, or you know, even if you've already been invested in minimalism for a while, like Melissa and I have, which really isn't that long in the grand scheme of things, but it's a good amount of time. No matter where you're at, it's always good to learn more about the world around you, and they do a great job of that.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be able to share this with like people like me dad and friends, you know, who if I'd given them the book, they wouldn't have read it. But I know with this movie, I'm going to be able to show them it, and they're going to understand. Like, that really excites me.
Yeah, because like people don't really read books, and honestly, like, gifting somebody a book is like, hey, I'm taking 8 hours of your time, or however long, you know, like, here you go. Like, now make sure that you dedicate like several hours to this.
Because I'm going to ask you questions about it later.
Right. So like, but a film is different. You can like watch it with them, and like it's entertaining. People are always looking for like, I don't know, like good things to watch.
Yeah.
It seems to me like there's like, you know, there can be like some really shit TV shows and movies out there, and this just doesn't fall under that category.
No, it doesn't. I think like it's one of them things that you're going to be able to come back to, you know, because I mean, not like you don't fall off the wagon, but everyone has those moments, you know, where you're like, whoa, like what's going on? I feel a little bit disconnected again. And it's nice to be able to watch something like that and to reacquaint yourself with, you know, all the reasons why you fell in love with minimalism and why you want to live this life.
Yeah. It's important to have a reminder, because sometimes, like, you know, you get so immersed in life, that you can kind of lose sight of like what's important, no matter who you are, you know, and like that's a really important thing to keep in mind, and that's one of the reasons why this film is so good, and I can't wait to watch it again because it's awesome.
Yes, no, it definitely is.
And I want to say one thing too: the soundtrack. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely spectacular.
They really used music
gosh.
well, like some of the tense music I could feel it in my chest. Like it really was like,
Yeah.
you know, when they had the stuff on about like Black Friday and stuff, like whoa. Yeah. Like visually as well, like it's so beautiful, that part where Josh is standing, I'm guessing it's in a desert somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's the Salt Flats.
Oh my God.
In Salt Lake, or not in Salt Lake, in Utah. It's outside of Salt Lake, and it's like this expansive, like, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily a desert, but like it's completely flat. It doesn't really rain that much, and it's just amazing. It's like you can look down at your reflection.
Oh, it's insanely beautiful, and I just thought, yeah, wow.
Yeah, and they the band is We, and it's two guys named Drew and Nate, and we might be releasing it. We might be releasing the soundtrack. So man, keep your eyes open for that, because that one, I'm not gonna lie, I have the soundtrack and I've been mildly impressed with it over the last few days.
I feel like we're proper fangirls. No, but honestly,
oh yeah. We have proper fangirls, but man, like this team deserves it hard.
Yeah.
This team deserves it hard.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening this week. It was such a pleasure to talk about this film and like to just banter back and forth about it. And again, if you want to learn more, you can go to minimalismfilm.com, and there you can find a theater in your area that might be playing the film. If it's not playing in your area, if you're in the United States, you can request the film to be in your area, and you can get the film to play. It's also playing in Canada, and then the worldwide release is August 2nd, where you can order it on Vimeo. And just go to minimalist.com/order, and there you can purchase it for $20. Not so bad.
Oh God, I'm excited. And also, I just wanted to say a big thank you as well, because if you're thinking, whoa, Melissa's audio is insanely clear.
Oh yeah, does it feel like Melissa's behind you all?
That's because I actually am. No, but I just wanted to say like a really huge thank you to all the people who have donated to us and supported us, because we're finally invested in a decent microphone, so you don't have to deal with static and I'm really hoping that I've got all the settings right, because there was a lot of stuff going on with this one. So I'm probably saying thank you, and it may sound like shit on your end. I really hope it doesn't. But yes, thank you so much to all the people who've donated and all the people who've listened to us. And I think we're coming to the end of this season now. So next season, hopefully will be shit hot audio wise, even more so than this time.
Yeah, hopefully I know, I'm like crossing my fingers, like maybe we'll get 2 microphones. Maybe we'll get 2 microphones. It's hard. It's like expensive, but it's just so worth it when you hear that audio quality just ring through your ears.
It is, definitely. And if you would like to contribute again to us, you can do so, because we still need to buy Jess a nice new microphone.
I know, maybe I should be like, hey guys, I need a new microphone. I'll just like cover up mine. Like I'll decrease the quality as time goes on to entice people. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, so you can go to the mindpalacepodcast.com, scroll to the bottom, and you can donate to us there. And you can now work with us too. Can't you, Jess?
Yes, you can. Yeah, if you'd like to work with Melissa, you can go to the mindpalacepodcast.com/curate, or if you'd like to cultivate your passion, you can go to the mindpalacepodcast.com/cultivate. And we're here to help you, and we're here to get involved and help you along your journey into getting your capsule wardrobe properly in order and cultivating a meaningful passion.
Yeah, it's been exciting.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful week.
Bye, guys.
We like things little, but we love things big. Yeah, I grew out of it, and you just fit right in. It's time to find what is the space inside my mind. Philosophy